Hello, welcome to another video on Moonbeam Manor. I'd said that I was going to talk about columns in my next um, instructional video. I've got two columns here. One of them is about done. This one, still some work needs to be done with it, but it's nearly done. Uh, Started off with cutting some wood to make the skeleton or the frame. They are about 16 inches across, both of them, about 16 inches wide. And this one stands just under 6 foot, maybe about 5'10" or something. This one stands just under 4 foot. I've made two of these to go at the end of my driveway on either side. And these are just columns to kind of like put my fence on when everything is said and done. I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to show you how to build the frames and how I do these stone look. I'm not sure if it's really cobblestone, but I'll show you how to do that. And well, let's get started. All right, to get started, you're going to get some wood, usually like a 2x4 is what I would usually suggest. This is just some wood I had kind of laying around that I'm going to use to kind of demonstrate. And what you want to do is you want to take this and get at least 8 about 16 inches wide with a cut to it to make a frame, 45-degree angle, so you can square it off and make a frame. Kind of like what I did with this column here. I don't know how well you can see that line there. But yeah, make yourself a frame. Make about 2 of them for the top and the bottom. Now I made a third one. Show this to you. Now I did this for the bottom, have a base on it. You can see this is the 16-inch, and I think the top one I did about 18. Also made it a little wider so it'll fit on the ground a little better. And for the framework, you can make these parts here as tall as you want it. You can have, I think this is about, let's see, I'm just under 6 feet tall. So I say this is about 7 feet. I mean, you can make them that tall if you want to. You can make them taller, you can make them shorter. And then you just screw those into the frame, like so. You see here. And that's how you get your column made. Now on the bottom here, if I can pull this back a bit. Yeah, you can see right here, I put these cross beams across it for, I have a purpose for that, which I'll show you later. And this is where you kind of start. Once you have your frame done, it's time to put on the skin, or the main part. All right, you go get you some insulation foam from any box store, Lowe's, Home Depot, and cut it to the size to fit around your column, your frame, and glue it in. Now you can use like plywood. I've seen people use that. I've seen them use both plywood and the insulation foam. I choose just to use the insulation foam because I try to make these things as lightweight as possible. because I am getting up there in age, and having to set these things up can be a hassle. So I try to make them as light as possible. So once you glue that on, it's time to do the cobblestones. So I'm going to show you how to do that and start doing a real video here. Okay, we have now moved inside the shop. Please excuse its messiness. I have been working out here a bit. And we're going to show you how to do cobblestones. I'm assuming they're cobblestones. I'm just rocks, fake rocks. And how I do it, I find some scrap pieces of styrofoam around. You know, there are many ways to do this. One of the tools that I use that you'll need is I think this is called a rasp. And I'll show you how I use that in a second. And what I'll do, I'll get these things and I'll just kind of break off a piece, and there's my rock. Now you can cut it with a hot knife, with a styrofoam hot knife, or with a regular serrated knife, I would say. So yeah, I'm going to show you how I do this. Make this thing into like a cobblestone looking piece. Alright, this also gets very messy, so you may want to have your shop vac handy, close by. I'll just take this rasp and I'll just go around it. Try to take off a little bit of the edge. Kind of like so, and there's your first stone. I got a bucket back there that I use, and just break off another piece. See, it's got a little bit of a different shape to it, and I will say this is kind of like the most tedious part of the project, because you got to do this. If you do it like this, you're going to be breaking and breaking or cutting several rock pieces, and doing this like hundreds, if not thousands of times, so you can get as many stones as you need. This is kind of an interesting shape. Again. Break off another piece. Now this is the last one I'll do on camera. This technique I saw on YouTube, another prop builder, Van Oak Props. If you haven't seen that, if you haven't seen his channel, certainly check him out. But this is where I got this technique from, as far as making stones from styrofoam. Felt like I should give him credit, because this was, as far as I know, this was his idea. This is where I got it from, and he deserves to have credit for it. All right. I guess I lied, because I am going to do one more, because I do want to show that even the smallest pieces you should actually do. Because small pieces actually help fill in the gaps. Between the stones on your column. All right, there we go. We're going to go back outside to the columns and glue them on. All right, the next thing we're doing, we're going to put the cobblestones onto the column. I have already kind of like did a paint job on this. The reason for that, I'm trying to, because on the other column, I had went on ahead and glued all the cobblestones on it before painting. So when I went to paint it, it was hard to get into the little crevices and everything. That can probably be solved by using a paint sprayer, but those things, I find it difficult to use, because after you first of all, you got to really thin the paint, because I use Drylok, which is a very thick paint to kind of weatherproof it. And Drylok is a very thick paint. You got to get it thinned out in order for you to spray it. And after you sprayed it, you got to really clean out the sprayer. Very tedious and long, and I'm not a fan of it. So now the glue I use is this Gorilla Glue. I use that because I hear that's the best thing to use as far as styrofoam. And then you just start gluing your pieces on. Also have a bottle of water to kind of spray it, moisten it, because the moisture activates the glue. Once you do that, you find a good spot for it, and you just place it down. Does this fit here? Yeah, that'll fit. It's too big. Got some glue on my hand, so wipe it off a bit. Hopefully there's enough glue on there to make that stick. Probably not. I think this bottle's running out, so we have to switch to another bottle soon. Yeah. Got a whole tray here to go through, and it's probably not enough because you want to do this on all four sides from top to bottom on your columns. All right, I moved the camera over here to kind of give you a closer look. What I was saying earlier about even the smallest piece of styrofoam can be used to kind of fill in a few gaps. Like you see this gap right here, I got this small piece. Just lay, that's still too small. We'll put it over here. Sad thing is your small pieces always seem to fall to the bottom of the bucket. Is this small enough? No. Don't be afraid to kind of slide it over while you still can. fits in there pretty good. You can also go, if you need to, just go ahead and break, have a couple more smaller pieces. We can get this a little more moisture on it. Yeah, and just like that, and you'll want to go down the whole column doing that on all four sides. And I'm going to continue working on that, and we'll come back in just a minute. And once you got all your pieces glued down, you have to wait for the glue to dry, and then you just paint over it with the Drylok, seal it in there. If you're wondering about the different colors, I have done this kind of project before, and I did paint some of the stones, and when those messed up, I went and pulled them off and reused them. That's why you get like the gray, the orange, the brown, the yellows, earthy colors. Also, the pink foam you get from, I think you can get the pink foam from Lowe's. No, you get that from Home Depot, and the blue ones you'll get from Lowe's. That's why you got different colors. And when you do your stones and stuff, you know, you can have a little bit of fun with it. I'm from North Carolina, and so I kind of did one of the stones in a shape of the state, which will get glued on to one of the columns somewhere. I have done the bat emblem from Batman. I've done that, put it on a stone. You know, just have a little bit of fun with it. So when this dries, you can, well, first I would say after this dries, you'll flip it over and do the other three sides that are left of the four. And then when all that's dried and everything's in its place, you'll paint over it, and again with the Drylok. And yeah, we'll go on to the next step. All right, this is the older column that I showed earlier. My dog is speaking his mind, but this is the column I showed you earlier that was already painted and everything. The other one is still drying. Um, yeah, you excited too? The skulls on here, you probably saw earlier, I had glued those on earlier, if you saw it on the one I'm currently working on. These are the skulls that I showed you in an earlier video a few weeks ago about how to make the styrofoam skulls. So that's what I used it for. That's what I used 8 of them for, this column and the other column. Put it up here. After you get it painted, this is how it'll look. You can go in with your acrylic paints. Never ever use spray paint on styrofoam because it just eats the foam away. Actually, that might make an interesting look. I'll have to test that sometime. But after you get it painted, this is how it looks. You can go back with your acrylic paints. Like I was saying earlier, like the yellows, the orange, the browns. And kind of like paint things like that. Then in the next, well, maybe not the next video, but one video I will show you how I age them. Trying to get a little bit more done. Also kind of keeping an eye on my dog. Sorry about that. I went to go look to see what he was barking at, and if I knew how, I would edit that out of the video, but I haven't quite learned how to do the editing correctly. So, yeah, this will kind of look like this. Go back to the earth tones, then paint over it. And I'm going to show you how I attach my cemetery fence that I showed you how I do. I did a video on the cemetery fence a few weeks ago. Show you how that gets attached, and we'll call it a day. So, hold on. Now, I showed you earlier about these braces that I put on the columns, and well, this one doesn't have it. You'll just cut a hole through your styrofoam that you have on this facing, and put a piece of wood in there about the same width as your fence. Cut a hole in it, and your fence ends will slide down into these holes. So I'm going to show you how that looks in just a second. All right, once you have your cemetery fence, please excuse the fallen tree in the background. I'm in the process of trying to clean that up as well. But you take your fence, slide it in that hole, like so. Come over here, slide it in that hole. Straighten it out. And this is how you attach your fence to your, this is how I attach my fence to my columns. So, yeah, there's that. I'm still trying to think of a topper for the fence. I still haven't came up with that. Hopefully I'll come up with something soon. Other videos I've got planned coming out. I'm wanting to do a sort of like a dug grave. I'll show you how I would do that in process. And I have another tombstone makeover video that I got in my head that I'm going to do. Also, I'm going to be redoing at least my Freddy dummy. I'd done a video talking about that. So yeah, those are in the pipeline. They're coming up. I hope you found this video to be helpful. I'm not sure. I'm not very good at doing videos, but I give it a try. So I think that'll do it for this video. I hope you got some ideas and hope it inspired you to do something. So yeah, go make something and keep Halloween alive.